All right, we'll get started on our session today. We have allocated 75 minutes here today to talk with you about a couple of major topics. One is our architecture best practices and lessons learned from the field and in real life. We have a number of key themes that we want to talk about in that regard, and also just get your active feedback in terms of things that you might be experiencing as you're using, working with us in our online environment with Dynamics 365. And choose as a nice open dialogue with everybody here today. And then the other thing we're going to talk about is our FastTrack program. My name is Marty Carreras. This is Darren Liu. We're both FastTrack leads, as you can see on our titles there, and we have different areas of responsibility within our own overall customer portfolio. I'm the lead for our government customers, and I have a team of individuals that work around the U.S. government customers in the United States, both state and local, city and federal level. And Darren?
Hey, good morning, everyone. So I'm Darren, right? So I actually lead a team of architects that's in Asia, right? So if you're going to be talking about on the customers that's in China, Japan, right, Singapore, and Thailand, that's the area of responsibility that I have, right? I have a team of architects actually focusing on customer implementations in those regions. And I also have a team that actually focusing on U.S. central customers. So I have a variety of customers that's in the U.S. as well as in Asia. So when we actually talk about customer implementations, and there's a lot of stories Marty and I is going to actually share with you today in this session here.
All right. So let's get right into it. Really what we wanted to do, like I said, is talk about a lot of lessons learned from the day-to-day use, working with customers and common things that we see come up that we coach customers through. And the one thing I wanted to clarify too is that the term architect, solution architect, engineer, we have a lot of different terms we use to describe what our role is. But if you just think about it from a bottom line human sense, who are we? We're really the customer extension of the product engineering team, right? So we're resources that can be brought to a project. That where we're representing the product itself as well as the overall online service. And we're there to be the advisors and guides and coaches through the overall implementation journey to get you to go live. And in many cases, we actually stick around for quite some time after that because we know, especially at the enterprise level, there are a lot of engagements where the customers don't just have one project, but you have 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And every one of them can be unique in its own right in terms of what you're trying to do with the overall platform. And I'm going to go into, at the end of the conversation here today, the last about 20, 25 minutes, I'll go into depth about what the FastTrack program is, how you qualify, how you get how you can get nominated. But we'll spend the majority of our session talking about some of the real lessons learned from what we see day to day. So with that, let's start out with the first one.
Thank you, Marty. So like Marty said, right, so our team is a global team, right? We are the extension of the product group. So, a lot of our architects in our team is really experienced with implementation. A lot of us has actually got a background in previous solution integrators, right, or within Microsoft services that done that before. So we are not part of the engineering team. So when you have issues, right, and some of you sitting here is already working with FastTrack or our team, right, and then when we have issues and you escalate it up to our product group or working with us, right, and then we are actually the customer-facing team that actually face the customer, right, working with our product group to address their issues. So going into some of the lessons learned. So even though we bought a top 5 implementation challenges is what we have seen usually from our customer implementations. There are a lot more than 5 that throughout the project, but this is what we have seen right throughout our implementation. Right, so Marty and I is actually going to go through them, right? We can actually, since we have 75 minutes, right, for this session, we actually make sure that we give you enough information, enough stories to make sure that you understand, what those 5 are, and hopefully it can help you in your implementation in your own projects as well. Right. Number 1, architecture, right? So the reason I actually want to brought up architecture is that, in the online world, right, that we have different architectures comparing to your own on-premise implementation, right? A lot of times when we actually go into customers, the reason the customer is asking us is, hey, does your online actually perform well? Does your online scalable, right? And then what we faced previously, right, and even nowadays is actually a lot of questions about, hey, can your cloud really scalable to support my workload? Right? That's really important things that that we have to actually help the customer address, right? Because I mean, in their mindset, some of the companies, even bigger companies, say, hey, we have our own data center, like we know our workload, but our on-premise system is not able to actually scale, right? When I move your workload, my workload to your cloud, how can you help us, right? So a lot of these questions that we got from the team. So what we actually helping our customers to understand is really how we actually lay out the architecture in the cloud so they can be really confident, right? When you actually go in front of their executive business leadership team or IT team that to tell them, hey, you know what? Microsoft Cloud is able to actually take your workload, is really scalable. So what you're actually looking at this picture here is that, when you think of Microsoft Cloud, you think about data centers, right? You think about containers, you think about pods, right? So what we have in our architecture in our data center, you think about the server that's in a really big data center that is a container base, right? So each one of those, pod that we are talking about, that we have a lot of scale groups. So what is actually a pod? A pod is just we'll think of it as really a big, container. Container is a lot of servers, right? In each one of those scale group is, a subset of the server that's actually taking care of every version of the product. So just to give you an idea of what a scale group, how many organizations contain in a scale group, right? Each scale group can actually contain, 3,000 orgs, right? And then to 5,000 orgs, depends on the customers, users that's in each one of those scale groups. So when we lay out the architecture online, that at this moment, we have 8.1 pod, right? That's hosting version 8.1. I think that, after probably this week or next week, we will not have anything that's on 8.1, version 8.1, because there's initiatives so actually driving the upgrade to 9.0, right? And then we're going to actually get rid of those. We can actually explain later on when we're talking about upgrades here. Right, and then we have our 8.2 pod. So a lot of our customers still on 8.2, but by now you should receive a message that, hey, you know what? You have to actually upgrade it to 9.0 because the deadline is January 31st. Right, as you can see that the 9.0 pod, right, that is basically a lot of servers and computers, right, in that scale group. So each one of those scale groups have another set of servers that are actually taking care of our customers and database. So when you think about our infrastructure, right, in the cloud, it's different than on-premise, right? It's really scalable, and the performance, right, you can talk about it later on how they actually mitigate some of the performance challenges that we are seeing, right?
So real quick, just by a show of hands, how many in here are using CRM on-prem today, or Dynamics on-prem? Okay. The rest, how many are using online? Okay, with that, how many of you have started to use version 9? Okay, great. So everyone's moving along that journey. Awesome. Great, thank you. Good context.
Yeah. So, for the folks in the room that is actually on-premise, right, and then this is really the architecture to help you to understand, right, in the online model, right, and we can actually help you to get to where you are when you are on-prem, and online definitely can handle your workload, what you have in on-prem, right. Just double-click it down one level down, right, because when you're actually looking at this picture right here, on the very top, that's what we call site-wide. So double-click on that, you can see what are the components in the site-wide level, right? Site-wide in our architecture really handles all the authentication, all the backups, right, and from different regions. So this is really a deep, detailed representation of what we have in this really top layer, right? They actually control all the different services that is for online at this point, right? So let's say if you actually are online, right, you sign up for a trial, sign up for a demo, that's what actually go through this service, and we will spin up your instances. It will actually provision your organization, and then you can start leveraging and using it. Okay? Right, and I want to actually double click down, since we talk about this picture right here on the site-wide level. So what is actually in each one of those scale groups, which is make up the pod, right, if it's not online architecture. Right. So what we have is you can see that we have data centers that's from the East Coast and West Coast, right? So in the East Coast, that is in the Boynton area, and then the West Coast is actually in the Bay Area that we have data center for Dynamics 365, right? And then for GCC, right, you have it in central U.S., right?
Yeah, in version 8.2, it's in Boynton, Virginia, and Des Moines, Iowa, and GCC, for those that don't know that acronym, that's the government cloud. And in version 9.0, we actually have it in Boynton in Texas.
Correct.
And then we also have, of course, geographies, or we call them geos. When we use that term site-wide, it's synonymous with people saying site-wide and geo and region. They're effectively all really, we're talking about the same thing, which is really representing where your data at rest is sitting geographically. So we have a number of regions throughout the world. Europe, Asia Pacific, UK, Canada. What am I missing?
And Singapore, Hong Kong, right, and Japan, Australia. Those are the data centers that surround the world. However, if you have a Dynamics 365 subscription, by default, you don't have the multi-geo enable. So you can only create your instances that's locally in your region, unless you tell Microsoft, hey, Microsoft, enable my multi-region capability. Then you'll be able to actually create organizations and instances in the rest of the world that you can do that.
And that's actually really important from a performance consideration perspective for anybody that's looking at things from a global operation perspective. You may have multiple production instances within your tenant, and you may want to position the production instance as close to where a majority of the users are that's possible. So there are certainly considerations and design implications of thinking through how to do that, especially if you're trying to make sure that the data is synchronized across those instances. But just know that the multi-geo capability is intended for that. It's to be able to have a production instance where the data is at rest and geographically close to the majority of the users.
Yeah. So this picture right here is telling you how we set up our front-end servers, how many that we have, right? How many sandbox and how many async servers that we have. And at the very bottom, right, in a 9.0 architecture, that is SQL Azure behind the scene, right, for the online architecture. So it can be scalable, right, and in our cloud, right? So, since we actually talk about infrastructure, the idea that we are actually going through the infrastructure to give you an idea of how online architecture works to help address some of the concerns that you have in the infrastructure level. But, and for your implementation, what we want to actually let you get out of this is, hey, you know what? Infrastructure component, you don't have to worry about it, right? Just let Microsoft take care of it, but this is just giving you an idea of what's really behind the scene here, right? And then, when you actually at a pod level, scale group level, right? And then now we drill down into the organization level, right? So in the organization level, so CRM is how an org operates, right? And everything related to the database schema, right? The metadata is actually in the database itself. And then we have an application layer, which actually contains all the SDKs and APIs. You can write extensions to extend your application, right? And then on the very top layer, and how the org operates is all the clients actually connecting to the web service, right? And then, doing all the operations within that CRM system, right? So now this is really the architecture here, right? So
before you move on to that, off of that, can you go back 2 slides, Darren?
Sure.
So if we look at, actually go back one more. And yeah, this is a good spot. So, one of the other things we wanted to point out here too is that, this is a shared environment. Software as a service by nature is a shared environment, right? There's elements of shared compute. There's elements of responsibility in terms of things you might be able to get away with and not necessarily focus in on in an on-prem implementation that become much more relevant in an online implementation. And specifically things that we tried to avoid is runaway processes, right? Setting up a workflow or setting up some process that has the propensity to consume all the resources on one aspect of the infrastructure called async services. What that can do, if left unchecked, is actually affect other customers that are in that shared compute, right? So we specifically have throttles within the service to help avoid and mitigate that, right? There are different strategies at times to be able to make some adjustments to those, but we always do that with a context and an overall appreciation of what those kinds of adjustments might do to the overall health of the shared compute that's going on. So, it's certainly... Yeah, we can. You want to just do it as we go?
Sure.
We have time, yeah. Would it be helpful to hit the mic so people might be listening and might be able to get them?
Sure. Could you technically explain how you throttle those async services?
Sure. There are a number of them. I'm not going to remember all of them off the top of my head, but so the question was, can we technically talk about how we throttle different resources? So one example is, I was talking about the async services, right? One example of that is if you've got let's say you've got something where you're doing a massive data migration, a massive data import. And when you do that import, it kicks off a number of different data-centric workflows or plugins, right? Each one of them holding resources to do what they need to do before it can move on to the next record. What we do is we have these mechanisms to be able to say, okay, we're going to let a certain number of requests for a given workflow to go into the overall queue to get executed. And we're going to let a certain number go, we're going to let a certain number execute, and we're going to hold that. We're going to cap it for a period of time before you can get the next set to go through. And what that does is if you have a whole lot of jobs that flood the service that need to kind of get in line to go do what they need to do, that's going to, potentially for a temporary period of time, hold up some other customers, right? So what we do is we limit the amount of time that you're holding the processes so that others can get in.
So I deal with on-prem and hosted. So
Okay.
I have multiple back-end async services that process about 8 million transactions a day.
Okay.
And I do have that exact scenario that occurs, and there's over 60 settings in MS-CRM config
Gotcha.
on async settings, and I can't get anything from Microsoft to tell me exactly how you did that.
How we did it,
Because you're
okay.
running the same async service as I am.
Okay.
So there's technically the way that you are throttling that. I am very interested in knowing how to do that.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay.
So not just conceptually, but what are the particular settings? Okay. All right.
Yeah. So just to add to the async example, right?
Okay.
We do have telemetries behind the scene. So I think that we published that there's a maximum of API calls that you can actually do in a 5-minute period. So if you actually exceed those numbers, we're going to throttle you. But that doesn't mean that you cannot change that, right? If you raise a support ticket with us, right, and then we look at your requests and then evaluate if you really have those requests, we were able to adjust it for you as well. So, we haven't actually seen customers with a lot of transactions, right, in the 5-minute period, but we have seen, a few customers done that. And then we are always actually monitoring our telemetry behind the scene, right, to make a better adjustment for our customer as well.
Well, we'll take note to follow up specifically on that question to determine, I know what the settings are on our side that we look at that we can, manipulate there, and what we look at, especially when we do some troubleshooting. I don't know how they manifest on-prem, right? And that's what we'll get back to you on. Right.
I'm assuming that you're throttling through those additional settings
Right.
for async operations in MS-CRM config, that there's literally no white papers and
Right.
nothing I can, even from my PFE, which I have elevated PFE support, still can't get specific answers
Okay.
regarding async operations in the 60 settings, because they've grown.
Right.
I've been in
Right.
CRM since 3, and every release you've got more settings for async, but no real white papers to explain to a customer exactly how they affect async operations.
Okay.
Other than like maybe 6 or 7 that I've got, there's 60. So I know there's probably the throttling that you're doing is most likely through the async service reading from those config settings and throttling it from that perspective.
Okay. All right.
Let's take a look, and then we can follow up at the end, right? So that's good, right? So, I just want to actually close this architecture topics because we have received a lot of, questions, requests from the customers and our partners, right? That most importantly that we have seen is really lack of understanding of our architecture, right? That's why that we ran through it, the architecture and how online works to give you guys the confidence that our online platform can be scalable, right? And what you have on-premise, you can actually run it on online as well. Right? And just if you have any questions, let us know, right? And also relates to your implementation, right? I think there's a couple of things that is really important architecturally, right? When you do a CRM implementation, one of the things that we point out is the security modeling, right? Data model and identity is those are the foundational architecture items. Why? If you're going to be in the CRM space for a while, right? A security model is just like a foundation of your house. You need to get those things right. Right, the security, how you're sharing records, right, and as well as the data model. Once you locked it down, right, just put it in change control. The reason is because that if you actually, let's say, you have a security model you define for the entire solution, you're going to change it later on. It's going to be a major surgery. Right? I have seen from other customers that, they don't even have a security model strategy that's in place. At the end of the day, they have to redo the implementation, which is going to be really costly for that customer, right? The second thing is data model, right? The data model is just like the structure or the framework of like when you're actually building a house, that's what the data model is like. Because, when you actually, your data integration, data migration, all leverages the data model that you have in your system. So if you have it wrong or it's not, you haven't defined it up front, right, and put it in the change control, what we often seen is that, you know, you keep changing a data model, you know, the development team or the functional keep changing it, it's going to impacting all the integration team and data migration team, all the works that they have done. Hey, you know what, how come my data migration and integration works yesterday and they actually did not work today, right, because the data model changed, right? A lot of the customers, when you talk about identity, right, they thought, oh, you know, I have my Office 365 identity is going to be okay. However, when you're actually looking at the implementation, especially in the government space, right, they may have a different identity, you know, mechanism, right, multi-factor authentications and how to authenticate with another provider besides Microsoft, right, and then you have to actually get those foundational items, architectural items, you know, figure out up front. Once you figure that out, you know, it's going to save you a lot of headache. Right, moving forward on your implementation, right?
Yeah, the good news for a lot of Dynamics implementations, at least Dynamics 365 Online, is a lot of those identity headaches get handled by the Office team, right? So the Office 365 initiative often is the spear to kind of deal with that particular challenge and strategy with respect to you know, ADFS synchronization and whatever other identity provider are in play. The other thing, you know, when we talk about the security model and what needs to be considered in that regard, you think about things like really record sharing, right? Record sharing is where you can start to run into some performance considerations, especially as the overall complexity of the solution grows and the overall you know, data volume grows. And when you're looking at using things like teams, right, to be able to organize groups of people that are able to access certain records, one of the conversations that we would want to have with you when doing that is, you know, it's not so much about the number of teams that you have. So you could have, you know, 1,000 teams. It's about the number of people that are in those teams, right? And, you know, there are other strategies to be able to address how to make sure that a certain subset of people have access to a certain set of records, whether that be strategies with business units, whether it be hierarchy, security hierarchy, or whether it be access teams, right? There's a number of different options that all make sense depending on really looking at the use case and what the overall intent is. But the point is that's an area of deep dive that makes a lot of sense to put extra time and attention on. It's not the most fun conversation and most fun exercise to go through. It's always, you know, more exciting to go look at screens and make things work. But it's that sort of detail that'll make the difference between a solution that's performing really well versus one that drags and you're constantly trying to figure out what you can do to increase the overall performance characteristics.
Correct. Yeah. The security actually model relates to, you know, the famous principal object access table, right? The engineering product group has already put a lot of focus on that, you know, security sharing table behind the scene. So I have customers that have like, you know, hundreds of millions of POA records in the table. The performance is fine. So, you know, just for your information, if you know what the POA table is, that's behind the scene, right? Usually, architecture is the foundation of your implementation. You need to get it correctly at the first time, right? You know, the most fun activities I've done in implementation is picking out icons for each one of those, you know, entities. Those are the most fun activities that can be last. All right, so enough on architecture, right? Let's talk about like a little bit about planning, right? Same thing, you know, I think some of them, when you look at it, is really a common sense to some of the implementations. However, what we have seen is there are, you know, like, you know, people thinking, hey, you know what, I can just, you know, buy the SaaS service. I'm actually going live tomorrow, right? Literally, we have customers thinking about that. That's not the wrong mindset, right? If I'm going to actually buying a service, Microsoft, you know, I'm expecting to start using it right away, right? But if you're going to be actually in a, you know, larger scale implementation, there's quite a bit of stuff that you need to consider, right? You know, for your project, like your backup strategy, right? And how you can actually back up, how you often back up, and understand how to back it up, right? If you're going to be coming from the on-premise world, you do your backup, you have full control of it, right? In the online world, you have 3 days, right? That is from your admin portal, you can actually see, because Microsoft actually automatically back it up for you, and then you can actually back it up yourself as well. But when Microsoft doing the backup, we do have backups that up to 35 days, right? So beyond the 3 days that you cannot even get a copy, you cannot restore from your admin portal, what you can do is that you can actually request from Microsoft, right? Open a ticket and have them actually restore the, you know, maybe day 10 or day 15, whatever day that you want to, you know, restore. You can do that from through a ticketing process that we have, right? But most importantly, you need to understand, you know, what is really behind that backup strategy? How is Microsoft doing it for you? So you can be comfortable. Hey, you know what? When just in case you need to restore your data, how you going to be doing? How you go about doing it, right? Another thing here is the instance strategy. I want to touch base on, right? You know, if you are a global organization, right, and then CRM, right, and customer engagement, you have the ability to have multiple instances, right? You know, when you actually talk about instance strategy, right, and then you have to actually look at, you know, is this make sense for us to combine every one of your workload into a single instance, or you have different workloads in a different organization, different instance of CRM, right? I have a company that they have, work with. They have offices around the world, right? But because of the different business requirement, they have, and also legal requirement as well, right? And they had actually split up the instance, ahead of time. That's one of the architecture foundational component as well, right? To define it, because once you actually combine it, it's going to take some time, right? It's going to be really challenging for you to actually split it up. But if you actually have like different instances, right? It's easy for you to combine data, right? For reporting purpose, you can actually leverage, multiple instances and combine data later on. But it's really based on your requirement of how you actually define. Usually, it's really a country legal requirement that makes our customers go to a multiple instance here. But instance strategy is something for you to really figure it out, correctly in the very beginning. It's just part of your planning, right? And then integration strategy.
Actually,
right?
before we move on to that, let me say a couple things before you get too much further. Going back to the backup strategy for just a minute, as Darren said, you have the ability through the admin center to be able to see the last 3 days. You have the ability also to be able to initiate your own backup. Now, something to understand about what that backup is, it's really just a marking a point in the transaction logs. So, when you go through, setting a backup point, it really is a restore point. So what happens there is that anything that's happening beyond that gets combined if you're ever going to restore, I should say, right? What happens is we take the last full backup we did and play it back up to that restore point. That's how we're actually restoring a backup where you've set a point in time. That's how it happens so quickly, right? If you're ever curious about how you can take a very large database, get a restore, kind of set a restore point, and then see it recover in a relatively short amount of time, that's how it actually works. You can set any number of restore points, and they last up to 3 days. But again, just to go back to a couple points I want to make there, though. The backups that we have in our data centers are available up to 30 days in the past. So you could go all the way back that far and request through a support ticket to have them either recovered from digital tape or otherwise to be restored into an instance if you need to do that. But then the other thing to consider is that sometimes people or customers are looking at, well, I need to be able to have access to very old backups, maybe even 30, 40, 50 days in the past, not so much to recover it, to be able to go and do anything with the data, because by that point, the business has moved on quite substantially, right? So it's probably not something you're going to recover and actually use. But sometimes they're trying to do that for troubleshooting purposes. And oftentimes, the motivation for that is to be able to understand what changed, right? Because maybe you had, an implementation or, a solution implementation that went in, and, some time went by before something was realized that things don't seem to be quite right anymore, but they used to be right, 35 days before. Well, if you ask us for a backup 35 days later, you're going to be out of luck because we're not going to have it anymore because we go back 30 days. So to that point, there's a specific feature in the service now called activity logging that's different from audit, right? It's specifically called activity logging. And I bring that up because what activity logging does is it allows you to capture everything that's happening inside that instance. And it captures it and puts it inside the O365 Security Trust Portal. And it's actually combined with activity that's happening in the overall tenant at large. But it's specific, you can narrow it down to be able to see all the different things that are happening in Dynamics. It's very useful to understand, when entities were changed, right? When different administration actions were occurring. Or if there was configuration data, to be able to track back and see in around about a particular period of time where there was some major change introduced as captured through the activity log. So it's, the activity logging feature, I wouldn't say it was necessarily intended and created for that particular purpose, but I've had this conversation a number of times of recent where that's really what the motivation was I don't really need my backup 35 days ago because I want to see what, I want to use it. I want to see what things look like. And they wanted to see what things look like because they wanted to see what happened. So the activity logging is a more direct way to be able to say what happened, and that helps solve that problem. So a little bit of a tangent from backup, but sometimes backups lead to that conversation, which is why I brought it up.
Yeah. The activity logging feature, we built the feature because of GDPR as well. So that's one of the GDPR requirements. That is not inside CRM, but is an administration portal. Under security, you can actually see activity loggings right there. It actually tracks everything that you did to the organization, like the export of the Excel, and that's common request that we have seen from other customers. That's what we usually keep track of them. Right. I think I do have slides for each one of those topics that we just mentioned here. Right. So backup and restore, right, and then also instance strategies, some of the common challenges and key learnings, right, and then I think that we already talked through it. Right. And then some of them is around integration and testing, right? A lot of times that we have seen from integration is that the customer thinks this is like CRM, is just really a black box for them, right? They just move everything, integrate everything into this CRM system, right? Because that's really the lack of understandings, right? And then and treat it, using CRM as a data warehouse, right? There's a lot of things that you can do right now in the customer engagement, right? To generating a report. You don't necessarily have to actually put everything into CRM, right, to generate the reports that you want. I've seen a lot of customers that I've been working with, right? They have all the SIBO and SAP data, right, and going into CRM, and they're going to report out of it. But there are other better way of actually doing it. So when you're actually looking at integration strategy, you have to think about, hey, you know what? What's really the goal of you trying to accomplish here? If it's just for reporting, what you can do is you can, gather data in a data lake or a data warehouse. We do have services online where you can export your data to through our data export service, and then in Azure, then you can actually report against it. It's really, define that strategy and what is really the purpose you're trying to accomplish here is really important, right? For integration, strategy, you need to actually figure out, is that two-way integration, one-way integration, real-time integration, or batch integration? Those activities, please actually consider it, right, ahead of time before you actually start doing it in implementation. It will make things a lot easier on your project at the end. Right, anything to add here?
Yeah, I think also, there's a lot of topics here in this throughout the week on Microsoft Flow, and we certainly would encourage you to take a deeper, closer look at what Microsoft Flow provides to you, as another tool in the toolbox with respect to being able to facilitate data integration challenges. When we look at a project, when we're sitting down with a customer for at the outset of a project and trying to understand what's all going on, traditionally looking at interfaces would be the area where we would say, okay, there's a number of we'll call them caution flags, right? Not necessarily red flags until we get into it, but at least caution flags, because that's the area that can get out of hand pretty fast if there's not an intentional attention paid to it. But it's also an area that that traditionally has been complicated. Whether it's using SSIS with one of the adapters that's in the market, or using an integration product like Scribe and others that are on the market, they help facilitate some of it, and they've been the traditional go-tos for forever, really, since people have been using Dynamics and integrating it into the enterprise. But with Microsoft Flow and even Logic Apps, that changes the conversation quite a bit, right? Because now there's a lot more powerful ways to be able to model the integrations with the data that's in Dynamics with other systems and vice versa. And what makes it so useful is the fact that it listens and can see the different triggers that are happening. So just like when you go create a workflow and you say, when somebody updates the contact and they update this particular field, and you publish the workflow in that way, or if you have a plugin that's registered against that event, you can say, okay, every time it's updated, I want it to fire this logic. You can do that same thing in Flow, where you can have it listen to a particular entity, and every single time it changes, that'll notify the Flow to go do what it needs to do. And now you can put all your integration logic out in Flow, because it's far more powerful to be able to put the integration in that model, because now you have access to the 200 and some connectors that are in that environment, as well as any custom connectors that you can develop using the Flow architecture to be able to tap into your back-end systems, or even to go through the data gateway, right, if you need to have a secure tunnel back into your data center. Those are the kinds of things that traditionally have been really, really hard in large-scale Dynamics implementations, because people would have to get involved with the Azure Service Bus and all these other things that there's a time and place for that. But I guess what I'm saying is that keep Flow in mind as something to help facilitate those pieces.
Yeah, So what we have experienced with large organizations, right? Sometimes it actually takes time for a large organization to accept those new technologies, right? Microsoft is actually transforming. Our product is actually transforming really fast, right? So there's like new technology like Flow and Power Apps, right? And Power BI. It takes time to actually get into the organization, but as leaders in your organization, right? And then you have to actually change that mindset too. So in order to take on those new features to help you with implementation. So integration is an area that, there's a lot of new, technologies right now that's surrounding Dynamics. They can help make things easier. It's not like that, previously that you have to do a lot of end-to-end, point-to-point integrations into the system to get it working for you. Right.
The other thing I'll say about both Flow and Power Apps, since you brought that up, the Power Apps piece too, but I think it's important for everybody to understand that where products sit in the Microsoft ecosystem from a product group perspective helps to instill a sense of confidence in terms of the longevity of a particular new offering that's on the table, right? And for the longest time, Power Apps and Flow were really positioned as something that you would be able to use because you have Office 365. And that's frankly the way it was marketed. That's the way it was brought to market. That's the way the initial conversations were, because that's where the product was initially focused on. But from an organization perspective, from an engineering point of view, and the way that those capabilities get brought into the planning cycle, it's all part of the same, what's called the business application group within product engineering. So Dynamics 365, customer engagement, finance and operations, talent, retail, Flow, Power Apps, Power BI, they're all under the umbrella of James Phillips. So if you went to the session yesterday morning at 11, that's one of the reasons he was the one that was talking about that, he and team. It's because it's under that part of the organization. And that's relevant because it's a signal to all of you from a forward-looking perspective in terms of where the investments are going and how integrated and a core of a component of the overall stack that those new, relatively newer offerings are, and how important they are to be successful in a Dynamics-centric implementation.
Yep. Thanks, Marty. So let's move forward. Right, so another common challenge that we have seen is that when a project is actually tight on timeline or tight on budget, the first areas they're going to cut is testing. Right? I would say that's a big mistake. Hopefully in your projects, you really need to actually spend some time on testing strategy and making sure that you have a good testing plan that's in place, right? And then also when you actually fix, and a lot of customers that, what we have seen is that they only test the feature that they fix. However, they are not actually testing the entire solution end to end, right? Some of the learnings that we have actually asked our customers to really, go into do is, hey, you know what, let's actually define your test scripts upfront early, right? When you're doing your functional, requirements, right, with your customer, right? And invest in automated testing if possible, right? And then as Microsoft, we release a tool, right? It's called Easy Repo. That's free for everyone, right? That's actually leverage the Selenium frameworks underneath, right? It helps you with some of the automated testings that you can do. But look at that, tool that's available, and then you can actually leverage it for your testing.
That's only available on Post.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. The question was, is that only available online? And the answer was yes, it is.
Correct. Yes.
So I have a question on testing. Do you have any templates or white papers on how to set up a test strategy for Dynamics?
So the question is, do we have any white papers on testing strategy for Dynamics 365? I'm not aware of any.
Not aware of any that's formally published. That's true.
Yeah.
So say more about that question, though. Where are you coming from there?
So I'm used to testing, so I just got tasked with setting up the test strategy for a company's Dynamics implementation,
Okay.
which we're looking to have out by June. I'm used to testing custom software, and that's all well and good, but I am not used to testing this type of system. So just what are some example test cases, especially around financials? How do I track things? How do I test an end-of-year report?
Okay.
On things like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Are you, the implementation that you're focused on, is it focused on Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations? Or is it, it's on both sides? Okay.
And integrations with our package system.
Right. Yeah, from the product group perspective, I can't say that we've really spent time to publish anything, as a template to get that started. A lot of, realistically, they end up being kind of real-time conversations and taking a look at, maybe an initial draft of what some, customers thinking, what you might be thinking, and then providing some active feedback in that regard, which is, that's a dialogue that we end up getting involved with. it's usually our implementation partners that kind of dive deeper into setting that up.
Cool. All right, let's move on.
Okay.
Right, so what we have seen, right, another thing that we want to touch base on is really application lifecycle management, right, deployment and go live, right. So a lot of times, right, when we're actually building the CRM solution, you need to actually have a release process, right, defined up front. So, if you're aware of the dynamic CRM, there's unmanaged solutions and managed solutions, right? So I think the guidance that previously said, use unmanaged solutions in your development environment, right? And then a lot of customers that they actually use unmanaged solution in production too. So the guidance right now is that we have to actually look at how to use a managed solution in your production environment, right? And then have a good AOM strategy of promoting from your development environment to testing environment to a UAT, right? And then to your production. Because the solution framework behind the scene has changed quite a bit, right? So I would say that's mature enough, right? And then you can actually look at leveraging, the managed solution throughout, right? And then for that, right? And then that will you need to have predictable deployments, right? Going into your go live as well, right? And then you really have to prepare like multiple dry runs in the go live and make sure that it's actually repeated, right? And everything going in there needs to be predictable as well. Anything to add in the topic?
Just to double click on the whole managed solution versus unmanaged solution debate that's been raging forever. It's not really a debate anymore from our perspective, in the sense of it's a conversation for sure if you're looking to make that transition. But the answer really is managed solutions moving forward, and there's a lot of reasons for it. But the highlights, I think, is one thing that Darren just mentioned, which is predictability. When you know that you're layering managed solutions on top of managed solutions on top of managed solutions, there's a particular predictability in terms of what's happening when you do that. When you start to get into this mode where you have a managed solution and then you go into the environment directly and start making a change and then try to put an unmanaged solution in, it's like trying to untangle a massive mess in terms of what actually happened during the last migration that got you to a point where that configuration that you put in isn't actually showing up. A lot of times those support tickets and those problems really root in a not necessarily 100% mature ALM process. The other thing I'll mention too on this is patching and the ability to roll back, right? So with managed solutions, you have the ability to put a very specific fix into the environment to address a particular problem, right? And gone are the days where if you need to make a change to one particular field and change it from required to not required on the contact entity, they have to send in a solution that has the whole contact entity, right? We don't have to do that anymore. All right? You can get down to the element level, and you can do it within a patch. And when you do that within a patch, it means you can roll it out. And if something, once you put it into the destination environment and you see that something has gone horribly wrong, you can roll it back. So all of these things really layer on that philosophy of managed solutions being the foundation that we have to kind of get used to as the normal going forward. And those patterns are going to parlay themselves into these other technologies like Flow and Power Apps. So as we continue to enhance the overall solutioning story across the stack, they're all building on that foundational assumption. Not the least of which, also to understand too, is that when we are shipping features, we're shipping them through solutions, right? So you run the risk of things, perhaps not being quite right in certain circumstances that we have to always be careful about. So, yeah, just another element.
Yeah. So your AOM, I would recommend that you work, if you're a customer, work with your partner, understand what your AOM process is, right? It takes a little bit of time defining up front. I can tell you again, right? It will save you a lot of headaches, right? Throughout the entire project when you're promoting solutions from one environment to another. Because when we're going in there, when we're looking at it, sometimes we see, hey, QA is different than production is different than development. So when you actually try to troubleshoot an issue, it's going to make it really difficult if you don't have a really clean, defined strategy that's in place for application lifecycle management. That actually impacts your go live as well, right? So you need to actually have a clear, understanding of what's in each one of those environments. Okay. Let's move on, right? And then I think that, the next one is data migration, right? The reason that we brought up data migrations, we have a lot of customers that we've been working with, and then a lot of challenges that we have seen. It's about the go live. It's being impacted. because of data migration, they cannot actually get all the data in on time. If they're going to be actually move like millions of records, they may be, hey, you know what, they only actually did it through the weekend. It's not really realistic sometimes, right? So what we have seen is that like there's really no strategy on data migration, right? That's really going on is like, hey, you know what? I'm just going to start actually importing my CSVs. That's really my data migration strategy, right? And then sometimes if you're going to be having a larger volume from other like, system going in there, hey, your throughput is really slow, right? You maybe get 2 or 3 records online, but they're online through the API. You can get a lot more records in, right? Maybe you're not aware of it, but the thing is that you have actually defined the data migration strategy and do some testing, and then working with Microsoft to really get to the throughput that you want, right? So data migration, the point that we pointed out is that needs to have a strategy that's really in place, right? And then what's the process of extracting the data, cleaning up the data, transforming the data, and later on, loading the data into the system. It needs to be, repeatable, predictable for your data migration, so it's not going to impact your go live at all. Do you have anything to add here?
Yeah, and I think, getting creative around data migration is another element of, planning and consideration. And what I mean by that is, let's say that you're taking let's say you're not an on-prem Dynamics implementation, but let's say you're coming from some other legacy system. And let's, for example, say it's some legacy customer service call center type scenario, right? And you're trying to move over to Dynamics. And you have a requirement to make sure that you have access to cases that were closed up to the last 2 years or 3 years. That could result in a tremendous amount of volume of cases. But the thing about, especially in cases, the thing about that scenario is a lot of times those old cases are closed, and by definition they're inactive. They're not really being worked on. You can think about strategies when looking at a scenario where you've got a long-running data migration that you have to achieve to perhaps preload that information that really isn't going to change by definition of how the data really sits and is arranged in the legacy system. So that's a kind of a creative strategy that we've used in the past to say we don't have to migrate 6 million records over this weekend. We really only have to migrate 1 million of them because 5 million of them are just old reference data that can just be stale. So it's really, data migration 101. It's just that it gets amplified in a scenario like this because there are certain throughput realities in terms of getting your data loaded. There's other things that we would work with you too to make sure that when you're doing your data migration, perhaps be able to temporarily disable plugins and disable workflows and disable other interfaces that don't necessarily need to kick off in the context of a data migration, as opposed to a database create, on a more transactional basis.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the most common killers is that, the system is designed for, people putting data in the system, transactionally, and all these other synchronous and asynchronous workflows are firing, doing all this fancy stuff, but it isn't necessary for the data migration part. And if you don't turn that off, you're going to be wasting a tremendous amount of time with all this other stuff that just isn't needed. No.
Yeah. Another point is important for data migration. A lot of escalations that we've seen is data quality, right? So I can tell you how one of the examples how one of my customers attack data quality is that they have a data quality manager as really for data migration. Not only just like the developers, right, that they're actually getting the data migration actually into CRM, but they have a data quality manager. If they have a lot of data, they need to actually clean up. Someone needs to manage it, right? So collecting the data from everybody, right, and then also write checks to check against the data, make sure the data going into CRM, right, is actually a quality data. Because if you garbage in, garbage out, so a lot of times like user adoptions because they really have bad data in the system. That plays into your data migration strategy as well, right? So I think Marty mentioned that already. So there's different type of a strategy that's in place, right? I mean, you can actually load the data right before you go live, right? And then you can actually do delta runs. You can actually do multiple delta runs. It depends on what your approach for data migration is, right? That's just a strategy as a sample that you can actually leverage on your project as well. Okay. All right, I think we covered most of the learning as well, right? Like I said, right, there are things that we can do to really speed up your data migration, right? So a lot of recommendations, like in your system, in your solution, you might have like duplicate detection rules, right? For data migration for initial run, and the recommendation is you have to turn those off, right? And the workflows and plugins are behind the scene, right? Do you need to actually have them on? You need to really do an evaluation ahead of time, right? Before you actually, disabling some of them, right? But the recommendation is like, the more things that you don't have like back-end process actually processing, the better if you can increase your throughput, a lot more, right? Upsert when absolutely required, right? And then some of the recommendations like using a staging table, right, to actually extract the data. Sometimes massaging data, transforming data in the middle database, right, is much faster using SQL than actually you import the data into CRM and start cleaning them up. So those are the things that, some of the common mistakes that we have seen, right, from different implementations, right? And then regards to performance, right, and then there is limits that we can set, right? Some of the limits like the read commit snapshot, isolation enable, right? These are the database level, optimization that we can be done. It's already on by default, right? Previously, in some of the 8.x instances, those were off, right? Because I just want to point it out here that, these are the settings. And then also the SQL command timeout is 300 seconds, which is 5 minutes, right? Previously, it was like 2 minutes for you, right? When you have a data migration, you might have a long-running process that you might want to extend those values, right? And then these are the values, right, that you can actually work with your Microsoft contact to really adjust. If you're going to have a data migration, you're working with FastTrack, that when you actually do your initial load, and then you're going to see performance issues through your data migration, there are some settings that we can tune, definitely, right, to help you with your data migration performance, right, to get a higher throughput.
Do you leave those settings after your data migration?
No. So after your data migration, the question is like, do you leave those settings, after data migration is done? The answer is that we are not going to leave them out there. So we work with you from FastTrack perspective, right, to understand when the go live schedule. When you're doing a data migration, we're going to have those settings turn on for you, and then after you're done, we're going to set those back to the default.
We actually have a job that runs on a regular basis across the service that goes and finds these. Because while we certainly don't intend to leave them on, in certain circumstances, we've run into that, right? And that's caused other, unexpected situations.
On the very first one, the RCSI,
Mm-hmm.
Microsoft, my TFE recommended to, at that time, it was Sean McNellis, recommended I set RCSI on all my orders.
Correct, yes. Now it's everything.
He said, set it that way because I have so much high AC operation.
Correct.
Yeah.
RCSI is one that we set in the database by default right now. So
Yeah, so when this deck was created, it was to try to hit both the on-prem world as well as the online world, right? So that particular one is an example that's left.
Everybody that's on-prem, I can tell you right now, RCSI is not enabled by
Right.
default.
Correct.
On any version you're on-prem.
That's right.
Yes. But for online, it's enabled now, right? So you get something out of this session, I guess.
Is there anybody that has been thinking about, I know it sounds like you got a lot of on-prem stuff going on there, but anybody else that raised their hand when I asked the on-prem question, considering strategies or thinking about how they would get from their on-prem org to online?
I have both.
You what?
I have both.
You have both, okay.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, so we're going to have, I asked that question almost as a teaser, but let me just give you a little bit of insight. There's a session on Thursday morning at, I think it's like 10:15 on Thursday, where we're going to spend a whole 45 minutes going through what the FastTrack team can do to help with an on-prem to online migration. But the gist of it, at the end of the day, is that we literally are working with you to get a backup and taking that backup and then importing it as an instance online. Right, so we can avoid a lot of the challenges that come with, moving all of that data from in a traditional kind of going through the API approach. Okay. You have a question there?
Okay.
Is there a caveat to that about looking at the database from on-prem to online? Is it doesn't do 2016
Yeah.
And it doesn't do government cloud?
Okay, so the question was,
I'm asking a question like this.
yeah, no, that's fair. So let me repeat it for everybody. So the question is, are there certain caveats with respect to the versions that you're currently on to be able to participate in that? I'll go into this in more detail on Thursday, but the quick answer is yes. But we are working to try to rectify those caveats. And specifically what it is right now, we need by default, we need the environment to be 2012 from a database perspective, so SQL Server 2012. We've moved beyond the limitation with respect to Dynamics 2015 or 2016. We've gotten beyond that, so we can do 2016. It's the SQL Server that needs to be at 2012.
I have to tell you, that's strange. That actually prevented us from doing FastTrack.
Okay.
Because all my systems at minimum were SQL 2014.
Right. And the reason why is because our online service is using 2012. That's why. Well, because at the time where we were going through the process of prioritizing whether to move from SQL Server 2012 to 2014, at that particular junction in time, we were also working on moving to V9. V9 is using Azure SQL. So there was no point in ripping through all that stuff we talked about, ripping through that entire infrastructure and upgrading SQL just for fun, because there wasn't anything in it that we needed, right? And we knew we were on a journey to Azure SQL anyway. So that's the why we're at 2012. The
SQL is what, 27? I mean, it's still a SQL version, like enterprise SQL. What version is that?
Azure SQL?
2017?
I don't know the answer to that, but let me give you the other part of the answer to your question. The other part of it is why is it that we only allow, kind of deal with the 2012 version versus Azure SQL, which can take a database that's higher than 2012. The reason for that is because on-prem to online is moving you to 8.2. Okay? You can move from 8.2 to 8.2. That part's okay. But
2016 SQL for 8.2.
right.
That's going to be a longer answer than that. Let's take it offline right here.
Yeah.
Right? So I mean, I know that that's going to be another sessions on that, right? And then we are happy to give you the answer. But let's go through this, right?
Sure.
Thank
Sorry,
you.
sidetrack us.
Yeah. So another thing that we want to point out here recently is really 9.0 upgrades, because I think that by now, if you're online customers, right, and then you should receive a notification, right, that you have to actually go upgrade to 9.0, like by January 31st, 2019. Right? So if you did not receive it, please actually reach out to Microsoft and get the understanding of what it is, right? So some of the common challenges I want to point out here, right, for the 9.0 upgrade is everybody is actually afraid of change, really. Because I mean, in 9.0 upgrade, we're getting to a platform, it's going to be a single version moving forward, right? So just like a Windows 10, do you hear that we're going to have a Windows 11 that's coming out? There's no, right? So basically, we go into that model. Just like Office is in the same model. You have Office 365, right? We're just pushing updates and features to you, just similar to Dynamics, just like similar to Windows 10. For Dynamics 365, you have the same model, right? So after you do this major upgrade from 8.2 to 9.0, right? And you're going to be in a version that everybody is going to be on the same version in an entire world. Right? And then you're going to get the updates, you're going to get all the patches, you're going to get all the new features all together at the same time. There's no way for you, I'm going to stay in this version. No, none of those anymore, right? So this is really the things that, bring a lot of customers concern, right? And then they don't understand what the model for and what's the vision of what 9.0 is. And then also for 9.0, right, we have a platform that needs to be in the 9.0. And however, right, there's changes that happens to especially the UX as well, right? You convert to unifying client. That's really a functional upgrade altogether, right? So the thing here is that what we are recommending here is you really need to understand what the upgrade is, and then what is the new features. What are the things that is deprecated, what's retired? I use the term deprecated here, is meaning that the feature still works, right? We are not actually cutting it off, stop working tomorrow, right? And then, when we actually going to cut it and stop that feature from working, that's really retire, right, of that feature. If you retire some functionality, retire some API, we're going to actually, do a lot of announcements, right? And as well as, blog posts to let our customers know that functionality is going to be stop working, right, in the future version. But again, we have telemetries behind the scene to really understand, hey, what are the features the customer is still using, right? And then we're going to evaluate when are we going to retire the certain features that's in our product. But all of those is actually published in our website, right? docs.microsoft.com, right? And then you can actually go read about it, right? Another thing I want to point out for this upgrade is really there's two pieces to it. Right? A lot of the customers thinking, oh, you know what, I'm going to actually do my upgrade. I have to upgrade to version 9.0. I have to actually make the change to unifying client, right? And then that's going to be a big organization change for me, right? The recommendation here, right, if you have the time, you have to evaluate it with your team to really understand, hey, do I have time by January 31st? Can I actually really convert everything to unified client, right? Because just transparently, there are gaps currently with unifying client versus the web client. Right? So you need to actually understand if that's going to be impacting your business, right, for those gaps. But we are filling those unifying client gaps as quickly as possible right now, right? So you can actually convert the unifying client. But at the end of the day, right, what we're doing here is like if you don't have enough time to convert your unified client, right, you can still do the platform upgrade. Or 8.2, you can upgrade your platform to 9.0, right? And then all the customization and configuration that you have in your 8.2, if you actually follow the supported mechanism, it will still work, right? Because I mean, the recommendation here is you can actually copy your production database and make it a sandbox copy, right, and upgrade it to 9.0, right? And then you can do analysis and see what is actually broken, right, under the web client, not the unified client, right? And then after you upgrade the platform to 9.0, then you have like more time to really, work with the business, work with the change management team to really do all the trainings that you need, right, to convert into a unified client, right? Some of the customers, they think, hey, you know what, I don't only want to introduce one change to the customer, right? But, when you do the platform upgrade, the UX for the web client is refreshed a little bit, right? Look nicer, but in terms of where the button locations, where every text field is, it's not going to change, right? But, when you go to the unified client, the navigation is going to change. Previous on the top, now it's on the left, right? And then there are like form changes as well to make it more performant. But at the end of the day, our future is unified client. So for your functional, a component of your upgrade, you can upgrade and work on it later, right? To meet your January 31st deadline.
Yeah. Oh.
No,
No.
not at this point.
Yeah, the question was, is there a deadline to get the unified client? The answer is no, there's not at this point.
Yeah, but we want our customers to start using unified client, right? So I think in October 1st, right? And when you actually new customers, not existing customers, right? New customers sign up for Dynamics 365, they're going to be on the unified client by default. Okay.
Right. The other thing too about that, just real quickly, because we're actually running short on time, is by taking that approach that Darren is describing, which is that you rise everybody to version 9, continue to use the web UI, address some of the communication changes to your end users, that there is a bit of a change to the interface, but not overly drastic. Most people see those changes as actual bug fixes, because just in terms of getting rid of some of the extraneous white space and things of that sort. But the thing that I want to really point out too is that what's nice about easing people into the unified interface is that you're doing that through an app. So if you're not familiar with what an app is in the context of an instance, it's the ability to have, think of it as like a, extension to the URL that gets you into a view and a functionality focus area for a given set of capabilities within the instance, right? So you can set up the navigation, you can set up the forms and all that stuff. When you go and create one of those apps, you create it as a unified interface app. And so if you think about it from a change management perspective, you can ease the user base. So if you have 1,000 users, you can take 100 of them and begin piloting them to use the unified app. But the data is all the same. It's literally going to the same data source, right? All the same workflows. It's literally in the same bucket. It's just a different experience is being presented to the user. So it's almost like having an A/B test in production in a lot of ways, right? And you can gradually increase the number of users as you're going through a training program, for example, that switch over to unified interface once you're on V9. So that was one of the elements and rationale as to why we did it that way, because if we just whole scale said V9 looked like unified interface, we would be 3 years before people upgraded.
Yep. That's good. So very quickly, because it's related to the upgrade as well, right? Because I mean that customizations, what we have seen is, it's a platform. There's a lot of way of actually customizing and configuring the system. There's a lot of new features being added. And then in terms of product group, we receive feedbacks from our customers. If those feedbacks on product features that is missing, we can add it to our product. Right, so the point here is that, look at, evaluate what's already out of the box, right, before you start actually customizing your system here. Okay. All right, last thing that I want to mention here is performance, because we have received a lot of requests on performance, right? So when you're actually going to tackling a performance issue, right, performance is really dimensional. Right? The thing here is that there's no silver bullet usually when you tackle with performance issues, right? So when we actually receive those performance requests from our customers, right, that we can actually just working with them to understand what is really slow, right? So you can see this is a picture I really like is, it could be, the time zone, it could be the browser, right? It could be the customization, it could be the network. There's so many things related to performance here, right? So what we usually get is like, why is my system so slow, right? And then, why? And then the customer is like, hey, you know what? In my China office, right, and accessing my US, instance is extremely slow. So why, right? Because a lot of times that I don't have a quick answer for you until that I understand what really happened, right? Because their straight answer is that there could be network latency. A lot of company in Asia and in Europe, they go through a proxy coming to the headquarters and then going back to our data center, right? Then you have to actually start peeling the onion layer by layer, right? And then what it is, right? And the first thing that I would look at, right, and in terms of performance is, hey, infrastructure network, right? And then there's tooling that's available to help you to capture the latency, capture the network bandwidth. That's the first step, right? And do the analysis. Performance, when you're actually dealing with these performance issues, looking at the facts, not the feeling, right? Because that's what he used, right? Because a lot of people come to me, it's like, Darren, my system is really slow. I'm feeling real slow. So I was like, come on, what is slow? Give me the data. So when we look at data, then I will able to actually help you to troubleshoot the problem. So that's the way that we're tackling it in terms of performance, right? And then also the next thing after the infrastructure is going to be looking at your customizations, right? Because especially the folks in the on-premise world, you have the luxury, have the data center right next to you, right? Or your internal network can be really fast, right? But the thing here is that there's a lot of customizations and client calls, right? That from the client side to the server, right? And they're actually coming back to the response coming back, right? It could be really fast on one premise. Online, you have to factor in later the latency, right? Because you actually making a request to the data center, right? Microsoft data center, and then coming back to you, right? If you have a lot of those requests on the client side or even the server side, you have to consolidate those requests, right, into as few as possible, right? Those are the things that you can look at to optimize the performance of your solution, right? And then before there's a lot of before you actually going into like third parties, right? Like CDN services or maybe WAN optimizers that you're gonna acquire. But there are products out there help. But this is gonna be the last thing I will look at. But the first thing I'm gonna look at is the network, and then the next thing I'm looking at application, right? I have customers in China. I was showing them like performance connecting to a US data center using my cell phone, connect to a China network, and then the application runs without any issue at all, which is extremely fast. Right? So, right, of course, there are other implementation challenges, right? And then, the list just continues and continues, and we just pick out, right, the really 5 items that, we have seen very often in our implementation, right? And then, of course, that for a project, you need the right executive sponsor, the leadership support, right? Analysis phase, how you're actually doing correctly, right? Release schedule, right? And of course, that in some of the deployments we have seen, you use Outlook. Your Outlook client, you have server-side sync issues, right? Those are the things that we have seen. But I think that is everything in your implementation is solvable, right? You need to be confident in that we were able to solve your problem, right? Just you ask for the right help and engage the right people. You were able to actually get it done, successfully for implementation, right? Here are some of the quick checks. I'm not going to read it to you, one by one, but just a reminder, when you're actually doing server-side, right, and coding for your plugin is 2 minutes, right, on your on-premise, you can extend that time out, right, and the different types, right, and then also that, some of the tracings that you enable in online, when you go to production, you forgot to enable them, or disable them, right, and then you can actually have a big database, and then it's going to be impacting your performance as well, right. So there are things that you can actually consider, that just some of the quick check items that you have seen. With that, right, and then there is a lot more we're here to share, but Marty is going to actually talk about like the Dynamics FastTrack services and how to engage FastTrack and what FastTrack offers.
Yeah, let me there's actually, if you want to get into a deep discussion around FastTrack, there's a session right after this down by our booth. But I'm going to jump right to a slide that I'm looking for to kind of cut to the chase. So let me set up just in the last 7 minutes that we have here. So, what we know as a reality with online implementations is that there's a lot of information that we can get access to, that product engineering has access to, that you as customers don't, right? That's one piece. There's also a lot of insight that you as customers can provide to us in terms of where the focus and attention ought to be and needs to be. And that continuous kind of cycle and loop is what we aim to facilitate when the FastTrack program was started about 2 years ago for Dynamics 365. And in that overall context, the way that we progress through those conversations is through a series of different what are called workshops and tech talks. So this is a structured set of material that has been curated through the course of conversations with customers, as well as just our own experiences in terms of what really can help to make the most sense to accelerate implementations. The feedback that you just gave, right, in terms of is there any kind of test plan, test strategy that we can kind of help lay out to give you a bit of a jump start, that's the kind of feedback that they're directly going to take that, for example, right, and say, you know what, there isn't something, that is a gap in our materials, we can spend some time and go do that, right? We don't want to usurp and kind of step into the world of where implementation partners have their expertise and intellectual property and things, but there are some fundamental elements that could certainly help. So that's one, kind of take that as feedback, right, to incorporate in. Your question over here, right, about what are all the different settings that can be manipulated in a database, and what are the outcomes of making those settings? Because some of them in combination with each other actually have a particular output. So again, that's great feedback for us, because again, we'll take that back and see what we can do to bring something more formally forward, right, and augment the documentation that's already out there. And so the point of what I just said there is those are really good examples of what we aim to do, which is to augment information that is technically out there in the domain someplace. It might be in people's heads. It might be in the expertise with premier field engineers. It might be in our documentation, but it might be buried somewhere where it's not obvious and it's not being found. So our jobs are to continue to surface the relevant information that brings that stuff to light, and do it in the context of your implementation, and do it in the context of where you are in the journey of early on to getting close to going live or sometime thereafter. What we are not is our team is not really focused a whole lot on change management and rollout strategies in terms of the end user rollout strategies. We have a whole other team that's called the customer success managers within the account teams that are optimized at doing that kind of work. So think of us as the technical enablement, coaching, and advisory partner, right, as you go through implementations, okay? And again, there's a session after this where one of my colleagues is going to go into depth around what all these different offerings are and how we work. But I'll just leave you with this. It's always good to understand the people in a particular team and how they're rewarded and compensated, to understand what behaviors that you're seeing from them, right? So Darren and I, as managers of our team, what we're constantly, there's a bunch of things that we're evaluating on ourselves as well as the members of our team. But one of the most important things is what are they doing in conversations with you all to identify risk and to analyze their perspective in terms of where a particular implementation might be going left when it should be going right. And we've got a whole system that we record that information. We're constantly evaluating that as a team, right? And we use that as a tool to help coach our team members to say, hey, you know what? I don't see you focusing too much on a conversation about what the strategy is around functional testing. You probably need a deep dive on that one if you don't have an opinion on how that's going with this particular customer. So know that if you're engaged with any of our FastTrack architects, that's their mentality, is that they're being asked by their management and they're being held to that level of accountability in terms of how much do you really know and are kind of insightful in terms of what that implementation is. And then everything else builds from there, right? Because if you have those conversations, you're having conversations about architecture best practices. You're having conversations about, okay, it's great that the platform can perform, but it's not performing for me, so let's get into this and figure out what we need to do to right the ship, right? So that's what the FastTrack team is all about. The way that you get nominated is through, it could be through your TAM, it could be through an account manager, it could be through a partner that you're dealing with. And there's a particular link, I think we have it in the deck here, that they can find and go nominate you. And I would make it more of it's a nomination, but it's more of making us aware that you're out there if we're not already engaged. Now, right now, we don't have an unlimited amount of resources. So at this point in time for customer engagement, we have a limit of being able to work with customers that are 250 seats or more. We don't count team members. So if you're 250 seats or more, non-team member, then you're automatically eligible for the program. So if you're not in it, we need to figure out why. For finance and operations, they do extend that downward. So they actually handle everybody that has more than 5 seats. So if you're doing a finance and operations implementation, they have a team that's staffed to be able to handle that sort of categorization of the customer base. From a customer engagement point of view, that's something that we're looking to invest in this fiscal year, is to be able to have resources that can handle the less than 250 seat customers. But we're not quite there yet. We have to staff up for that. And again, what we end up doing also is being the facilitator for things like the on-prem to online migration tool. So it's great that we put that tool out there, and it's an incredible tool, which again I'll talk about on Thursday. But it does require hand-holding. It does require a process. It does require planning and going through an effort. And our team is there and staffed to be able to, and trained on how to do that with you. And then as other initiatives come up over time, things like the upgrade to version 9, we know that we're going to have to reach out to our customer base and kind of encourage and understand what are the things that are holding them up. And that's our team that oftentimes customers will be hearing from. Just to, if you ever hear anybody tapping on your shoulder saying, we see you moved out that upgrade date about 4 times. What's going on here, and what can we do to help? Okay.
Yeah.
So with that, we're at a close, but Darren and I will be outside while the next group comes in here. So feel free to find us, and we do have a booth right down in the Expo Center, right near that thing with the big globe or whatever that was. They were giving away free T-shirts. We're right down there.
Is this presentation available to us?
It will be.
Yes.
Yeah. It'll be published with all the other presentations through Ignite. Yep. And that was our intent. We knew we had a lot of words on it, so that you could read them later. All right.
Well, thank you for attending
Thanks,
the
everybody.
session. Really appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
All right.